All right, welcome to our latest explainer. Today, we're digging into a real head scratcher. Americans are telling pollsters they feel incredibly sour about the economy, but at the same time, they're out there spending money like there's no tomorrow. So, what's really going on here?
I mean, you've probably seen this yourself, right? You hear all the gloomy headlines about consumer confidence being in the tank, but then you walk past a restaurant on a Tuesday night and it is absolutely packed. It's this huge contradiction that we're going to try and make sense of.
And this just puts it in black and white, doesn't it? On one side, you have the mood ultra sour, full of moaning and groaning. And on the other side, the actual spending, record breaking with soaring sales. It's almost like you're looking at two totally different economies.
Okay, so let's dive right into this whole thing, what we're calling the sour mood paradox.
And look, we're not talking about some small niche trend here. Spending at restaurants, bars, cafes, that whole category has become a monster in the American economy. It is now the third largest category in all of retail. The only things bigger are car dealerships and, the giant e-commerce companies. That is a massive piece of the economic pie.
So we've established it's a big deal, but let's actually put some hard numbers on this so you can really get a feel for the incredible scale we're talking about.
Okay, get ready for this number. $101 billion. That's how much Americans spent in just one single month this past September at restaurants and bars. That's an all-time high, a new record. And you might think, okay, maybe that was just a fluke month, but nope. That $101 billion is a 6.7% jump from the exact same time last year. That kind of year-over-year growth shows there's some serious, powerful momentum behind this trend. So if you zoom out from just that one month and you look at the whole year, the number just gets insane. Over the last 12 months, Americans have spent a combined $1.16 trillion eating and drinking out. Just let that sink in for a second. It's an absolutely staggering amount of money. Now, the big question here is, wait a minute, isn't this just inflation? Aren't things just more expensive? And that's a fair question, but the data gives us a really clear answer. Nope. As you can see here, while the price of food away from home went up by 3.7%, sales grew by almost double that at 6.7%. So here's the key takeaway. People are genuinely buying more. It's a real increase in how much we're going out, not just a reflection of higher prices. So this isn't just about how much we're spending, it's also about where we're spending. And what the data shows is a really historic shift in our habits, in our priorities when it comes to food. And wow, this timeline really tells the story, doesn't it? You can see that right before the pandemic, restaurants and grocery stores were basically neck and neck. Then, boom, COVID hits and it all flips on its head. Restaurant spending collapses, grocery spending shoots through the roof. But then, just look at what's happened since mid-2022. Restaurant spending has come roaring back, blowing right past grocery sales and creating this massive, ever-widening gap. So just how big is that gap we're talking about? By this September, Americans were spending a record 17% more money at restaurants and bars than they were at grocery stores. We've never seen anything like this before. This is completely new territory. Okay, so all of this data just brings us right back to that big central mystery. If everyone feels so bad about the economy, why on earth are we spending money like this on things we don't strictly need, like going out to eat? So what's the best theory out there? Well, according to Wolf Richter, whose analysis we're looking at, he thinks it all comes down to a hunt for experiences. It's not just about getting food, it's about getting out of the house, it's about being social, having fun, and maybe, just maybe, it's a kind of retail therapy for dealing with that sour mood. In fact, the author has this great, memorable term for this kind of consumer behavior. He calls them drunken sailors. Now, obviously, he's being a little playful here, but it perfectly captures this idea of spending freely, almost recklessly, despite all the gloom and doom talk. But, and this is a really interesting twist, it's important to note this is just a metaphor for the spending itself. Because, ironically, actual alcohol sales have been plunging for years. Younger folks are drinking way less, opting for things like mocktails, while older generations are cutting back for health reasons. So, yeah, the drunkenness here is purely financial. All right, so for our last point, let's zoom out one final time. What is this one specific trend, this restaurant boom? Tell us about the bigger picture, about the health of the American consumer overall. Well, it turns out this isn't happening in a vacuum. Total retail sales across the board are also up significantly, about 4.5% from last year. And what this really suggests is that maybe we should pay more attention to what people do with their money, not just what they say about their feelings. Their wallets are telling a much healthier, more robust story than their words would have you believe. And that leaves us with a fascinating question to chew on. This disconnect between our feelings and our finances is pretty wild, and it really makes you wonder, when it comes to telling the story of today's economy, which one is the real you? The one who feels worried or the one who's out there spending?